Alright, so today we're going to be working on this, I believe it's 1985. Yeah, 1985 ATC 200S. So, this one does pull through, but will not start, so just need to do a carb clean. Looks like a tank is real nice inside still, so no real worries there. So let's get this thing torn down, get the carb out, see what that looks like, and give it some fresh gas, fuel filter, and we should be back in business. So I actually ended up taking off the rack, which wasn't necessary on this one. I thought it was like the 185S's where the plastic and the seat come off all in one. But this is more like the 200 Big Reds. The seat just pops right off, and it's just one bolt for the tank, and you're basically working on the carb right away. I am glad I took the rack off, though. I'm just going to keep it off. I think they look a lot better without them. I think the racks are more suiting for the Big Reds. Alright, so the story behind this thing is I was actually working out in Chicago last year, and I found this on sale because it didn't run that good. So we're going to vacuum this up a little bit, take the tank off, and pull the carb and see what it looks like. Yep, and all you have to do is do a 10mm bolt at the base of the tank. Just make sure your fuel's off before you disconnect the lines. And tank comes right off, just slips back. And just going to vacuum the rest of this stuff out so we have a nice clean workspace to work with. The nice thing is there's a brand new filter in here. Never looked in here yet. Usually never find that. Usually I always find them all decrepit. So taking the carb off is fairly simple. There's two 8mm bolts that go from the carb boot to the actual engine. And then there are two 10mm bolts that connect the boot to the carburetor. So once you get that out, just loosen up your hose clamps. And I got it out on the right. I think you get it out on the left too. It's usually quite a bit of room. But when putting it back in, I would disconnect the air box. Makes it a little bit easier. Alright, so we got the carb out. I got one of these intake boots from eBay last year, and it looks like it split over the winter time, but it was sitting outside, so who knows what happened there. But we did get a new one. So as far as the carb goes, looks like there's some gunk in there, so we'll take this part. Alright, I just cleaned out our oil pan so we can get this thing nice and cleaned up. Let's get this boot off without tearing it. And it's a good idea to clean the outside of the carb before you take it apart so that any extra dirt that is on the carb doesn't get beside it after you spent all the time cleaning the inside out. And always wear rubber gloves. This stuff is super caustic, and be generous with this stuff. You're probably going to go through half a can to a can per carb. These are JIS screws, Milwaukee number 2 bit. Actually has a sawed-off nose on it, so it seats the screws nice and flat, and an impact always helps. Keeps you from stripping out these old carbs. It's actually not too bad in there. Garbage in the bottom. Let that soak. If you're going to be working on these carbs, these little carb cleaner kits off eBay are like $7. These carbs actually come apart really nice. And if you don't have one of these, you need them for cleaning carbs. You start at the smallest size and work your way up. Let's take the float out now. Well, it looks pretty clean. I'll let all this soak now. Jets. And that looks to be completely clogged. Let's see if we can work something through there. So on these jet cleaner kits, basically you just start at the smallest one and work your way up. That one goes through, Go to the next one. I'm getting there. And this one's perfect, so.
Nice and snug.
So we'll keep that one out, put the rest of them away. And that's what one will work on the main jet here. So watch your eyes when you do this. This shit will spray everywhere. So I don't know if you could see before, but you couldn't even see through that. Now it's nice and clear. So that was definitely our problem. Now for the idle jet, which looks completely clogged as well. So again, start at the lowest one. Looks like it won't even go through. So we'll just have to try and spray this one through. So we're just going to try stealing a bristle from the brush. See if that works. It's like even smaller than that. That's crazy. Is that blocked up? Starting to see a little bit of light, but still needs to be cleaned out. We'll have to try and find something skinnier. Alright, pretty happy with that. I don't know if it'll come out in the camera or not. Tell me if you can see any red through there. Anyways, that cleared out nice. Super small jet. This is only what, 35 for the idle, so might have to order another kit for smaller stuff. But yeah, now the jets are both clean. We'll just do a final rinse down on the carb, and we'll put everything back together. Should be back in business. Yeah, so just do a final rinse down of everything. Make sure your bowl is clean. That's basically the most important. And yeah, just put it back together. Spray the insides out, and just put your float back in. put your pin, make sure it doesn't fall out when you're putting it back together. And then put your jets back in. Again, that tool on the jet cleaning kit is primo. Make sure you don't strip it out. And then just put the bowl back together. Like I said, that JIS screws, just be careful with those. You don't want to strip them. And you're back together. Yeah, and when you're working with these old boots, you got to be careful. You don't want to rip them. They're next to impossible to find, and if you can, they're expensive. And you may rip a new one because they do get dry rotted. Alright, so here I'm just setting up the new fuel lines. Put a filter, inline filter in there. And I just leave extra hose on there, so in case I need to make any cuts later, it's not too short. And it's a bit easier to put that carb boot actually on the carb first, slide the whole unit in as one, and then bolt it back up to the engine first and leave it loose on the carb side. That way you can line up all your intake tubes, your frame one and the one to your filter box. Makes it much easier to assemble. It's kind of a lot to line up all at once. And if you hear my kid in the background, she's cooing in the morning. This is usually when we drink our coffee and edit our videos, so don't mind her. Alright, and after that, once your carb's all set up and all your pipes are lined up, just put your throttle cable and needle valve back in your carb and tighten everything up. And one other quick tip, that boot is offset that comes off the carb that goes to your air box. Since that clamp is actually underneath the frame, I would leave that loose just so you can clock it correctly. Saves you a lot of time because you're going to have to take the whole thing back out just to loosen that clamp up again. Silicone spray always helps too. Get these pipes to slide into place, so make sure you have some of that on hand. Alright, now that we've got it all back together, we're just going to clean up the top here with some WD-40. Get this thing shining a little bit. And we'll dump the tank, get some new gas in there, and hook up the new fuel line. WD-40 always runs out before the can's done. And this is when I realized, when I had it all back together, that the straw from the petcock was all clogged, as well as the elbow in the petcock. So took the tank off, got that all cleaned out. Once that was all done, started right up. All right, all that was worth it. Cool, another one fixed. Yeah, and on these oil changes, I always use Honda GN4 1040. That seems to be the best for these things. And when you're taking out the oil drain plug, there is a spring and a screen behind it. You want to make sure you get all that out of there and make sure those are cleaned out. And yeah, it looks like the dogs are trying to help me here. Got the party lights going in the background. Just letting it drain out. And we'll be ready to take it for a rip. And always, boys and girls, if you guys like this content, we love doing three-wheelers and old classic power sports. We're going to be doing some wave runners in the spring and some boating. So remember to subscribe to 2 Acres, and thanks for watching.